Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
Welcome to the Local Woman Podcast, and I'm your host, Kim Kelly. Today, we're going to delve into the world of social media and mental health with a very special guest who, in part, owes her success to social media, but has also experienced her share of trolling and negativity, I guess we would call it. Emma Thompson is the owner of Behaven Body Care. You might know her as Miss Behaven. And of course, she is a local woman columnist. She's also a mental health advocate and talks about her diagnosis of bipolar and her mental health journey. Emma, welcome. It is lovely to see you. Now, I know a lot of people know you from TikTok and social media. They might not know you, but they think they know you, of course. So we have to get this out of the way at the very start. Emma is a beekeeper.
Random.
How? How did this happen?
It's so random because I actually never really was I had no interest. I was always interested in insects as a child.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I didn't really have any interest in bees. And then I took a spoonful of honey one day because I had acne and I was trying to heal my gut health.
Yes.
So I took a spoonful of honey in my living room, and I can still see it now as I was eating, because I bought proper honey. Because
the expensive stuff.
Yeah.
The dear stuff, yes.
Because the honey we have in the shops isn't real, guys.
She's saying the honey in the shops isn't really honey, okay?
No, it's not real. Okay.
Sorry, supermarkets.
Yeah. Anyway, so I took a spoonful of honey, and then as I was eating the spoonful of honey, I was Googling, where does honey come from? And I went.
Did you not know it came? You didn't know it came. Okay, so there's the first bombshell.
So I thought, and listen to me, guys, I'm going to say this, and you're going to go, what does it not, right? So I thought honey was made by bumblebees, the fat bees. Like you know this because we have.
I've been to her. I've been to her hives, and honestly, it's so interesting. If you ever get a chance to go to beehives, it is so interesting.
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
So I thought honey came from bumblebees. So the first thing I noticed, I read on Wikipedia, was that it came from honeybees, and I was like, well, it's not the same thing. Is
it not? Right, okay.
You know that you figured out.
I know, yeah, kind of.
So I went down the rabbit hole on bees and honey and how, because bees are so interesting and clever, and how they've adjusted to our world. So I just became super interested, and lots of things happen in life.
Yes.
But there's some things that you can say, that was a pivotal moment.
Yes.
That changed my life.
Yeah.
You didn't know it at the time. You just knew. And because I've got bipolar, I have got the spiciness of hyperfocus and obsessive behaviour.
A very interesting combination. Yes.
So that was a pivotal moment. That Google search and what happened after led me to the hives, which then led me to everything that's happened after.
Now, what do you mean it led you to the hives? So did you go out, do you go out and buy hives? Where do you even buy bees?
So, there's a few different, you can catch a swarm, which only happens if you don't want one. In my opinion, you only get a swarm of bees whenever you don't really want bees.
Right, okay, yes.
Okay. Or you can, at certain times of the year, buy a nucleus colony from a beekeeper, which will be a mated queen with a very young brood. Mm-hmm. So it's like half a hive. Yeah. And then you grow those into a bigger hive. They just naturally become bigger and bigger through the honey season, which is in the summer. Or you can buy a mated queen that you get in the post.
Are they expensive?
A nuke, as it's known as, NUC, a nuke, the prices have changed as everything. Back in the day, whenever I was buying nukes and wasn't breeding my own bees, probably like 250 quid.
And these come through the post?
Oh no, a mated queen in the post will be about 40 quid.
And they come
actually need...
Bees come through the post, okay, this is...
It is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you're allowed to buy bees from England.
Are they asleep?
No, they're in a little cage. I don't like it, right? I don't like it. Because it's not very fair, I don't think, on the queen. But it's essential if you need a queen and you can't get one locally, which... We've talked about this new 105 that you should always try and buy native Irish black bees, but anyway, some people don't. So the ones you get from England in the post they'll not be native Irish blacks, they'll be like Buckfast queens or something, randomly.
This is getting very surreal. I like this. But there's something about this that I like. So these are called Buckfast Queens.
Yeah.
Right, I am not going to make the joke, but I'm just going to let you insert your own joke there, listeners, okay?
Yeah. So the Buckfast bees. You don't want the Buckfast bees to breed with the native Irish blacks because that gives you a hybridised, very angry bee.
I feel I've met some of these very angry bees.
You would imagine. Yeah. But anyway, so the mated queen is put into a little cage with a tiny little bit of fondant on the exit, an entrance hole. And in the cage with the queen will be 2 attendants who will feed her on her journey. And that they will arrive with the beekeeper, and then the beekeeper would need to have a colony to insert them into. So it wouldn't be your average, I want to become a beekeeper, I'll buy a mated queen. You wouldn't have any structure. You need a colony to put her into, so that she would be for a queenless colony.
Right.
Okay.
So you set this up. Now you did mention there your skin. You had bad skin as a youngster.
Always acne.
Really?
Always had.
And how
from
did that
11 until
from 11? And how did that make you feel?
horrific.
Really?
I was a sales rep, and I was always customer facing. And I always felt like I was the way I always felt the conversation whenever I left the room would be,
she's a lovely girl, bad skin.
Yeah, exactly.
So for those of you who are listening to this, maybe in the car and can't see, Emma has lovely skin now. She's like really fresh faced. She's got lovely skin. I mean, there's no other way I can really say that. So how long did you have this bad skin for? Like
until 6 years ago. So I'm 45, so 39.
So that long? Mm-hmm. All those years?
And I had a beard. I had a beard of spots.
Oh.
And at 11, I had a newspaper round in Dundonald. I live in Dundonald. And my very first job at 11 was the newspaper round, because you could do that then.
Yeah.
Couldn't you? You were allowed to do that. Deliver random things.
Go around to strangers' doors, yes. How times have changed.
Yeah. And my first salary was £5 for the week to deliver papers in Wanstead Road in Dundonald. And I spent my very first £5 I ever earned on spot treatment. And I was a whole Clearasil or something.
Clearasil, but it wouldn't have worked.
Like
it would have been very harsh and would have made it worse.
I had an allergic reaction to it. My whole
of course
face
you did.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
So obviously growing up, your skin was a massive issue for you.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it was, and I feel back then, I think acne is more of a problem now because of probably a lot of the skincare stuff that's in the market that's causing people to have dry. I think acne is more of a problem. Whenever I was younger, it was
more unusual to have acne.
It was more unusual to have acne. So it was something that, and the things that you had in order to cover it up, like our Max Factor Pan Stick, or Elizabeth
the
Arden.
The Leichner makeup on the Elizabeth Arden. Big fan of that.
So I felt like I was always the odd one out, and so
it made you very self-conscious.
Very self-conscious.
So the spoonful of honey, you obviously read up and decided that honey was going to help you.
I spent so much money over the years trying to fix it. I'd been to beauty clinics. I'd been to loads
and
of
nobody
money.
could help you.
Nobody could help me. So and then a person said to me, "Have you ever thought about looking after your gut health?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means."
Yeah.
So again, went down the rabbit hole, but this is prior to the honey. Went down the rabbit hole with gut health and the gut bacteria and the gut microbiome. Incredible. I started making my own kombucha and kefir, things that were live with live bacteria in them, and that is why I took the honey, because raw honey has got raw or live bacteria and it's good for the gut. That's how I got to there.
So you're now making your own honey to try and heal your skin. That's quite unusual. I mean, that is like an example of your hyper focus. I guess. At this time, did you realize that you were bipolar?
No.
Right. Okay.
Undiagnosed.
So you just thought, I'm very focused on this. So you're focusing on this. So you made honey to eat.
I kind of bought honey to heal the gut and became very interested in bees.
Yeah.
Because you have bees doesn't necessarily mean that you have a lot of honey, so it's not a given. So I became interested in bees, and the next season did a course and got my first hive. And then it was probably about two years later, and my skin had improved quite a bit because of all of the gut health and the kombucha and the kefir, and I was eating my own honey at that stage. But I'd just been diagnosed with bipolar and had a massive breakout on my chin My skin still wasn't great, but I had a massive breakout on my chin, and because I had been put on antipsychotics.
That's okay. That's
Don't
okay.
work. Still a psychopath.
Don't worry. You're in a safe space here. It's fine. We can. This is the kind of thing that we can share in the Local Woman podcast. No, it's very. I mean, we are laughing here. We are laughing, obviously, but at the time, it would have been highly traumatic for you to be put on antipsychotics. Not least because they've made your skin break out again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And at that point, it was around the end of the beekeeping season, which is September, October. I had honey and beeswax. I made a balm because at that point I knew, I might just try and make something
as a
myself.
Topical face pack,
balm.
right? Okay.
And I made a very rudimentary version of the Beekeeper's Intense Skin Balm. It wasn't called that to begin with. I called it my Rejuvenating Avocado Balm or something random. But because I was a salesperson, I couldn't help myself but put this on my Facebook page. Look at this green balm, the magic green balm that I made. I'm totally not allowed to call it that, by the way. It's very illegal. Yeah. The magic green balm, and tell everybody, show sort of before and afters. There's not a lot of photographs of my skin. Yeah, no. Because I just wouldn't have taken.
I can understand why.
It was before the era where you would share that kind of stuff.
Yes, of course.
You would be hiding it. So I made the balm and put it on my Facebook. And people started asking me to make it for them, and you're not allowed to do that. No. I didn't realise you have to have things cosmetically certified.
Things were different then, of course. But this was a while
ago. You learn these
things. Things were different.
So made the balm, and then that is how Behaven Body Care started. And that was 6 years ago. Very soon, I think this month, maybe 6 years ago.
Gosh, so social media obviously played a huge part in this.
Yeah, those were the days before TikTok, and that was in the Facebook era.
Yes.
The end of the Facebook era, really. But yes, so social media, if it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't have a business.
So you promoted your business entirely through social media?
Entirely through social media.
When did you join TikTok?
I joined TikTok it must be
lockdown.
It was actually lockdown 2. Because I worked in selling makeup. I worked for a makeup brand before I gave up my job, and whenever in lockdown 1 we couldn't get over the amount of makeup that we sold.
Yes.
And what was used to describe that was like the TikTok, people doing TikTok videos.
Yes, of course.
And people were still getting their makeup on, they were still putting their makeup on, and we were still selling a lot of makeup. And a person that I know very well in the digital marketing arena had said to me, you should go on to TikTok. And I was like, but it's for kids.
It's for dancing.
It's for dancing.
Yeah.
And then I realised that it wasn't.
So you went on TikTok?
And it was incredible.
What was your first video like?
Oh, it was awful.
I don't believe that.
It was it was terrible. I went back and had a look at it.
Were you dancing?
No, I think it was me and my dad, because Dad helps me at the bees. I think it was me and my dad. I'm like making bath. It was just terrible. Making bath.
Well, it wasn't that terrible because you got a lot of followers. You became very quickly what we would call here in Northern Ireland. You became a Northern Ireland TikTok sensation. Isn't that what we call you? When did you realise that you kind of made it big on TikTok?
There was quite a lot of. It was my first video that went over 1 million.
Gosh, right.
It was that, and there's not a lot of. There is quite a lot of beekeepers on, but there's not a lot of beekeepers that have big. There's quite a few beekeepers that have decent followings, and some have massive followings. But for the amount of beekeepers, not everybody has a lot of followers. And there was a few videos at around the same time. I mean, literally, sometimes I think it's the algorithm.
Well, sometimes it's luck. But of course, you do have a certain image. I'm just looking at you now again for people who are listening and not watching. Emma's got a certain style. She's got like a buzz cut. She dresses in a very funky sort of a way. I'm not really describing it well, but you definitely have a style.
Thank you.
You have a style. You look great.
Look a little bit different.
And, she's kind of once seen, never forgotten,
Oh, right.
And I mean that in a good way. So obviously people really liked you. Things were good. You were a TikTok star. You were selling products.
Yeah.
This is where, of course, the story takes a turn.
Yeah.
So enter stage left, the trolls.
The trolls.
Tell me about the trolls.
There's 2 different types of trolls. There's the trolls that will attack you, and I've seen it with whenever I do anything on a social event and it goes on to Belfast Live. There's been a few photographs, and
there was one of you and me actually. And they said, did they say, look at those brain dead idiots? Yeah. You're like, that's me. Okay, thank you. Fine, whatever.
So there's
whatever.
that. Like, not those.
You're
things,
entitled to your opinion.
Those things don't harm me. Whatever. Whatever. And there's like, you're old and all of these things.
Oh, you think you're great? Yeah, fine.
But
yes, I do actually. But
yeah. There was a time then, it's 2.5 years ago,
Yep.
and I went to a school in County Down.
Yes.
I'm not going to name
To do a talk. Wasn't this to do a talk? Yeah.
And I was talking to 3 different classes in the morning, and I brought I bought an observation hive filled with honeybees in like glass fronted hives, so I could talk about bees, how important bees were, and show them what honeybees look like.
And this was for teenagers. You were doing a nice thing.
3rd forms.
You thought
Yeah.
you thought you were doing a nice thing.
I knew some of the teachers, and they'd asked me to come in.
So there
And
you
it was a
are
favour.
in a school. You had no idea that this was going to spiral. This now sounds like a Netflix drama,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
So then, very shortly after, like the same day or the next day, I started getting very weird messages, weird videos, weird stuff happening on my TikTok. I didn't really pay much attention to Instagram at the time. I'm very much an Instagram girly now because
Is that because of TikTok?
I needed to.
So what were they saying? What were they saying about you?
Well, for me, it was kind of like they were weirdly passive aggressive fans. So they would say things to harm you, but then go, "It's just because we love you, misbehaving," and things like that, right?
Right,
And it was
okay.
very obvious.
And this was comments about your appearance.
appearance, and they pretended that Brooke had died. My daughter.
Brooke is her daughter. Brooke is was a teenager then.
No, Brooke's 28. So
I thought Brooke was much younger than that. Gosh, okay. So Brooke would have been early 20. Yeah, early
Brooke
20s.
it was 2.5 years ago.
I thought Brooke. Goodness me, your
Don't
daughter
you
looks
love
really
that?
young. I thought she was a teenager. Right, okay. So they were saying that Brooke had died.
They
Right,
started
okay.
making videos of me in my smart car crashing into a wall. I mean, they were very.
it's just very-
I mean, they have a future in content creation. They
Yeah.
were very good at what they were doing, but it was sickening.
So it
they were,
started off being
and said that Brooke had died of a drug overdose and things like that. It was just sick.
endless, and it was endless.
And it was endless. It was every single day. And they were going on to my videos and taking screenshots of what I was doing. And I just knew that they were young, and I knew that they were from, so what happened was I knew that they were young because they were making comments about my things that, like, one day I ripped my shorts. And I was like, oh my God, I ripped my shorts. And they commented underneath. I'm not even going to say what it was, but the comment they made underneath, you just knew they were like young teenagers.
Because they didn't, yes.
Naive. Like
They
they
were
were
slightly
being
naive,
rude.
right.
It was kind of like just...
They thought they
Yeah.
were, yes,
Yeah.
there was a
No life
naivety.
experience.
There was a naivety in their comments, but still it was annoying, worrying.
Well, it was putting me off. I mean, with the bipolar comes then the other bit. Like, everybody has anxiety. It was causing panic attacks.
Yes.
I didn't want to post. If I don't post, I don't sell. There was a pressure, to sort of make more content. But then every time I made a video, I used to make a video innocently. And even still now, it's like, okay, I won't post that. I would make 10 videos a day and not post any of them because I think, how will they misconstrue that? So
So
now
you
I
had to second guess yourself, right?
Yeah. So what happened was I knew a girl, one of my followers, and she was like a deep diver kind of...
A techie person.
Techie person. And she said, Emma, I can help you out. I can possibly find out who these people are.
Find out where it's coming from.
I just knew there were kids. I knew it had happened after being in this high school, but that was all I knew. This lady lived in England, and she came back to me. I gave her all the information. She knew what she knew because she could see the comments. She knew the profiles. So she triangulated everything, and she came back to me and said, "Do you know a high school called blah 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 blah?" Now she may have seen that on my feed, so I didn't. It's a bit like talking to a psychic, right? Because you're like, well, how much can you get?
Yeah.
Anyway, so she saw that, and then she said, she had 4 names, and those 4 pupils went to said school,
Right.
and I spoke to the teacher, and those 4 pupils were in the classes.
Right, so we know who it is.
At that point, I knew who it was.
Yeah.
But it's taken a turn since, and that was 2.5 years ago. Now they don't really troll me anymore. They troll people with my face. So there's the accounts. There's 2 accounts. It's Miss People 123. I'm not going to say, right? But I've got my own account, which is Miss People 123. And then there's other accounts which use my face and have a very similar
But they're not you.
handle. But they're not me.
Right, they cloned accounts, okay.
They cloned accounts, and they now spend their time on TikTok lives telling people to unalive themselves, getting involved in their...
This is actually nothing to do with you.
Nothing
Which
to
is
do
which
with
is what I always do try and tell people who are being trolled. It actually isn't anything to do with you. You could have been anybody. You were just happened to be the wrong place at the wrong time. It's about them and what they're doing.
So, I mean, over the last 2.5 years, I've contacted TikTok. I've proven that that is my face and it's not my account by showing them my driver's license. I've done so many things.
Yeah.
My followers have reported the accounts hundreds of times.
What about the police?
Not interested.
No, because
it's your own fault for being on social media, is what I was told.
And also,
And
they're not threatening you either.
No,
they're not
and
threatening
children.
you. Their children, not children now probably, but they're not threatening you. No. They're just annoying you.
Yeah, and what I do now is completely ignore them. I don't give them any airtime. I don't talk about them anymore. I do wake up every day to new messages, and my DM messages on TikTok, the automatic reply from my business, because I have a business account and it's under my business registered name. The automatic reply is, if it's about the trolls, it's not me. Because surprisingly, the amount of messages I get from growing women going, is this your account? I'm like, oh, what in heaven's name would make you think that...
That's your reply on TikTok.
That's my automatically...
So if I message you on TikTok, I'll get that. I must message you and see what that is. That really is quite disturbing.
It says in my bio, beware of the other accounts, because it's not me. Because they say such dangerous stuff. And it impacts... has it impacted my business? I'm not sure how you would
It's hard to tell.
it.
You wouldn't be able to quantify that. It's just deeply disturbing. And probably easier for them to do because you do have a certain image. Mm-hmm. You're very recognisable. You have a certain image. I guess this is something that happens to celebrities.
Maybe.
But you were like a beekeeper from Belfast. You're like,
Mallory.
how did this happen to me? So you were caught up in all that. Did you ever think of coming off social media? Well, you can't, of course.
I can't, because we've got our wages to pay.
Yeah.
I decided that I decided to kind of allow myself grace on TikTok. So I post a lot less.
Yeah.
And I only post about what I'm making, what I'm doing. I don't post anything about
personal.
My day-to-day
No, you don't
life.
post anything.
Nothing
I've noticed
all.
that you don't post.
And I don't get the views because I'm not bringing drama to the table anymore. I'm not doing any of that. So
how did this affect your bipolar? So tell me about being diagnosed with bipolar. When was that?
That was about 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So there have been a lot of times whenever I look back that I was probably misdiagnosed with depression and anxiety for a long time. But with bipolar, you have this kind of, a lot of creative people are on the bipolar, and it's a spectrum.
Yes.
It is a spectrum, and I would be lower down on the spectrum. I'm not manic depressive.
You've got the hyperfocus.
Yeah, I've got a thing called cyclothymia.
Right.
There's a name for it, which is bipolar 2. Mm-hmm. And there's bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and bipolar 3, I believe. Anyway, so I've got bipolar. I was diagnosed 5 years ago after... I used to take these kind of almost like nervous breakdowns, but it would be after
exhaustion.
A period of time where I wouldn't be able to sleep. Oh. I wouldn't be able to focus on anything apart from whatever it was I was focusing on, which in the past has been unhealthy addictions.
What kind of things do you focus on apart from obviously honey and bees?
So in the past, I've sort of spent a lot of time focusing on spending money that I don't have.
Right. Okay.
I have had my own battles with alcoholism and abuse of substances.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being thank you for being honest, because I know a lot of people listening to this. This is something that they're going to relate to. You know, we're all adults here. We're big girls.
Yeah.
You know.
So a lot of, until I found my creativity in...
Channeled it. You were able to
channel it into the business. And I think, you know, before I'd had that, there was always something negative. I mean, the last kind of breakdown I had, I started to cut up all my clothes randomly. And it's a funny story.
And we do sort of laugh.
I talked about it on TikTok, and it is funny because I've still got the clothes.
Right.
And sewed badges onto stuff. I mean, I was going to Tesco's dressed like somebody from Girls Aloud. It was ridiculous, with all these like sequins and like a cut up like army jacket. It was. And
so your hyper focus at that time was
dressmaking with Gorilla Glue, and you know.
Okay. Right. Okay. Fine. Yes.
Do you know that?
But I know there are people watching and listening to this who are going, "That's me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's okay. Now, you have said something interesting. You've said that this is your superpower, that your bipolar is your superpower. Yeah. Explain that.
I would not be able to do what I do, what I've created in 6 years. Like, I have 207, I'm probably 280 or 290 different products. that I make that are certified, that we sell on the shop and on the website. I wouldn't be able to do that unless I was slightly insane or had the creative energy. So at the minute, I've just came off I've talked about this a lot on social media too. I have this hyper-focus, hypomania, creativity, hyper-focus on something, and it's always skincare or soap related, which is great. But then I'll go through a wee bit of a dry patch, and a dry patch, I can't make anything. So I've just come off a bit of a dry patch. But the dry patches, I'm able to identify. I'm able to say, okay, I'm just going to give myself a couple of weeks. I'm just going to do what I have to do because I know that
you accept yourself.
But I wouldn't be able to do what I do without being. Without the bipolar, without the creativity, hyper-focus. People say to me quite often, how do you manage to fit all that into a day? I mean, you do. Like, I am just...
Hyper.
I'm intense. I'm a lot. I know that Brooke struggles with me in the shop because it's just me and her. And she knows me inside out as her mother, but she's like, are you okay?
And you're like, whirling around. You're whirling around like a Tasmanian devil getting things done. But you know what? That's you, and that's part of you, and you could now accept that.
Yes.
It must have been exhausting trying to hide that.
Oh, it was.
Exhausting.
It was. I was trying to be normal. I remember whenever I first met my partner, we've been together for 12 years, and I was trying to be normal.
None of us are normal. I would just like to put that out there. There's no such thing. Anyway, go on.
I just want to be normal, and everything's okay, and I'm completely sane, and I don't have like 20 grams worth of debt or anything like that.
It's okay.
It's been a journey, and I say a lot, like we talk a lot in the shop to people about, skincare, eczema, psoriasis, things, and not that we're medically trained, but we talk a lot about, what is said in our shop a lot is, the doctor doesn't have anything for these, but let me tell you, and I say this often too, I wouldn't be here without the NHS, without the care that I received not far from where we are here, without my prescription that I get every month. I mean, there's a lot to be said, and there's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of things that maybe don't work well for people, but I was so lucky to get a diagnosis quickly and to get the right medication. Actually, I don't think I'm medicated enough in the sense that I still have intense highs and intense lows and the hypomania, but I need that. But my script just keeps me on a good balance.
But you're learning just to be you now.
Yeah.
You're learning to accept you just the way you are. And that's fine. And that's fine. But it's the acceptance, I suppose, comes with being a little bit older as well.
Yeah. But if somebody asked me, if I don't know, do you want me to take that bipolar away for you? I would say no. No. I wouldn't.
A lot of people say that about mental health issues or disabilities or things like that. And I think that's great. Just accepting the way you are. Yeah. Which is great. So we have to talk about the products. Okay. If you've never tried any of these products, they are amazing. I've tried them. The soaps. Go on TikTok and Instagram. Watch You're Making Soap. It's great. I love it.
Making the soap.
I love. Can I come and cut the soap someday? I'd really like to do that.
Bevel. You want a bevel, don't you?
Bevel. Yes, around the edges. Yes. You have some great. But what is the product? What is the number one product?
The Beekeeper's Intense Skin Balm, because it does so much for so many different skin issues. Our bread and butter. If you look at my social media, you'll see me making a lot of soap, and shampoo bars and facial cleansing soaps are our bread and butter. But our main bread and butter is our Beekeeper's Intense Skin Balm and our Be Beautiful face cream, which contains beeswax and honey from our own hives. Those are the products that people have in their basket every single time.
Brilliant. And where do we get hold of you?
You get hold of me in my retail shop in Ballygowan. We're open 5 days a week, or on behavenbodycare.co.uk, or if you go to Misbehaving123 on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, you'll find me there, and you'll get a link to
And
the
of course, she's in Local Woman every single month. She's a columnist.
Yes,
don't forget that.
Well,
thank you very much, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
That was really interesting, and thank you for being so honest and open about things. It was wonderful talking to you, and the very best of luck, and be good.
Thank you.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.